All right. It has been a long time since and I imagine anyone who's watching has seen any of these five faces here. But we're still alive here in this satellite. With finals coming up, everyone's busy and all, but looks like we found the time eventually in the week to come together. Today joining me is, well, I'm Paul. Randy is to my relative right. I don't know what that is. Hunter's above me, and Jake's diagonal right. But I'm pretty sure those
So,
directions are pretty
okay,
relative.
okay. So first off, I'm not on the screen. I'm not on the screen. Hunter's
Oh,
to
I
your
didn't
left.
see.
Hunter's
All
to the
right.
left.
Well,
Jake to the right.
let's let's just have everyone introduce themselves because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Again?
Sure.
Yeah, why not, dude?
It's been like 3 weeks, dude.
Dude, that's a lot of time.
That's that's what I'm saying to Jake.
Oh, I
Alright.
see. Yeah.
Alright, well, for anyone who's watching this that doesn't know me, or has forgotten who I am, I'm Lambsauce, also known as Jake, one of the VPs of the club, and a degenerate gamer. So that's why I'm on the podcast.
And then we
All
got
right.
Hunter over here.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Hunter. In-game name's Hunty Wilso. That's like my handle for most like everything. But you can just call me Hunter, Hunty, whatever suits your fancy.
Is that your full name to use for your tag?
Yeah. So my full name is Hunter Wilson, and then like in 8th grade, oh, it's actually a funny story. Have you guys ever heard
Why
of
is it
the
always
game?
8th grade that this happens?
So
Dude,
true.
what do you mean? 8th grade's a very like formative period of our lives.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of a game called Realm of the Mad God?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Heard
the
of it, played it.
the pixel
Yeah.
game.
So it was
Yeah.
like super popular back in like middle school. And so when I was making an account, I normally would buy the username like Mr. Coolio, but that was taken. And then I tried like doing renditions of my name, like Hunter Wilson. That was taken. So I was
Hunty
just,
Wilso.
messing around and I was like, yo, wait, what if I just like made Hunty Wilso? Yeah, I mean, I can't really remember what exactly I was thinking back then, but it's just stuck. And like the reason why it stuck is because people just started calling me Hunty, like Hunty
Dude,
Wilso, just
honestly,
because off of
that's a
that.
pretty sick name. It's a little better than Mr. Coolio, so I'm glad you found Hunty
It's a
Wilso.
lot better than Mr. Coolio. You know,
Yeah,
my
I'm
old
with it.
tag also used to be my full name.
Jake MP 2010.
It was Jake MP 2010.
Ah,
So
Mine
MP is
was,
the initials of my last name, and then 2010. Well, it's 2010. Like I don't know, but
dude, nothing
yeah.
beats Paul 882545, dude. When I first
That's
signed
elite.
up for on like legoclub.com or some shit like that,
Oh
it
god.
was like give us a name. So me being like the young third grader, I just throw in like Paul, and it's like, hey, Paul's taken. I'm like, no way, I'm right here. Who the fuck has my name?
This is illegal.
And so one of the suggested alternatives was Paul 882545, and so that is a string of numbers associated with my name that I will forever remember. Next to
Your
like
your new name is a lot better.
yeah, Neopaulitan. All right, but anyhow, let's get into the show on the road. Let's first start off with some.
oh, just skip me, eh?
Oh, fuck.
Oh yeah.
I put you on the cam. I put you on cam.
I'm on
I'm
cam
so
now
sorry,
too.
dude. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I can't forget Randy and our behind the scenes Kurt. Let's listen to how RoboEagle got formed.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my original name. It was Rambo Nom Nom Nom.
Dude, I
Oh.
think Rambo Nom 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 is just as cool of a
Oh,
name.
that's a boss ass name.
Oh my god.
Yeah, wait. I'm gonna be honest here. Albert, why the fuck are you Kurt?
Yeah, wait, we gotta talk about that for real.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
do need to
Time.
discuss this.
Yeah, we need to
Alright,
figure this out.
so my name is Albert, but then in Indonesia they keep on calling me, as for simplicity's sake, they call me Bert. So like, Bert, can you help me?
Oh,
So
you know
then-
what? I see. It's
yeah,
not that
so
far.
like it rhymes, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
my mom was like, talk to people on the internet, they Doksu or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I use the name Kurt instead because it's similar enough to Bert. And in actuality, whenever I have friends play online with my online friends, like when the groups collide, they mistake when they call me Bert, or like when they call me Bert, they mistake it for Kurt sometimes also. So
Yeah, because it's literally one letter away.
It just works perfect. But to be fair, I had a really cringy name for like back in like middle school. Like my name was like Crit, like Crit underscore or some bullshit like that.
Dude, honestly, that's kind of sick, dude.
Crit.
Crit underscore.
Well,
Crit with a K. Crit with a K.
Yeah.
It was with a C. I was like, eh. It was like
If it was a K, it would have been better.
It was like a critical. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Vexy OW with a Pog champion.
Damn.
Alright.
All right.
What kind of
Albert-
loser
Albert-
has OW at the end of his name? Jesus.
Yeah, Sinatra.
Oh yeah, Sinatra. Ow.
Alright.
All right. Club news. Let's get that out of the way.
There's about nothing for club news other than if you're watching right now, at 5:17 PST on what is this, November 24th. In about 3 hours there will be our weekly Among Us event. So if you're interested in that, it's gonna be going on at 8 PST, and that will also be happening
Hold
every
on.
Tuesday.
There's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links tournament happening this weekend,
Two.
dude.
There's that too.
Oh.
I forgot about
You
that.
see, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, so I didn't care.
Oh,
So-
all right. Well,
Wow.
Cut the VOD, cut the VOD, cut the VOD, cut the VOD, cut the VOD.
But it already happened.
it already happened.
Yeah, it's November
Um,
21st. Wait, what? No.
It will be this
No,
weekend.
no.
It will
Oh,
be-
28th.
Yeah.
Sorry. They messed up the poster. It says the 21st on it.
Oh.
Their announcement says November 28th. So
Dude,
if you're
this-
interested in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, go check that out on Saturday, November 28th.
Yeah,
And
says a
also,
lot about these,
ping,
card gamers.
Agent P and Johnny X in our Discord and tell them that they're dumb for putting the wrong date.
Dude, the elitism of FPS players, am I right?
If you
Like,
okay. Just if
yeah,
you want
fuck
to
these
join,
card players.
if you want to join,
No.
just there's a Google form on the Discord announcement. You can go ahead and sign up with it. Just don't be a shitter and yell. I don't want them to get like 20 ads and say like, you dumb fuck. You didn't do it right.
I want to go
Honestly,
to
though,
the
Duel
Shadow
Links
Realm.
isn't that bad too. So I think this is pretty cool. I was surprised to see this myself. So.
I'm ready to banish some kids all the way to the Shadow Realm.
Oh my
So-
god.
All right, so let's transition here to the meat of the conversation of this episode. As I continue to fucking flail my arms and wonder what this game Valorant is supposed to be. I think a lot
Oh,
of
shit.
time has passed since the last Valorant update, so I think it's worthwhile to first establish how does everyone here feel about the game so far? And like, what do you guys
Ooh.
have you guys seen anything particular in like tourney play and all that?
To be honest, I haven't been playing that much Valorant because
Mhm.
my biggest complaint about the game is that it just feels the same, like over and over again. At least for me, like
Yeah, the game
it's
loop
fun.
is like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you kind of just execute the same strats over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and until it works, or if it does work, like half the time people don't adapt, so you just do the same thing,
Yeah.
and then like it's fun, but in the same way, like it's so long that it's kind of like,
Mhm.
you know, when you do the same thing over and over again, it kind of gets a little bit boring.
Anybody else have any other thoughts? Because
Yeah,
I am going to ask for Albert's thoughts in particular. But
Okay, okay.
I want to hear everyone else's
Rip
thoughts
headphone
right now.
users, guys.
What?
Nah. But is there anything else you guys wanted to say about
yeah, I'm actually like, I'd say I'm a tad bit frustrated with just like the style of gameplay because I'm a COD player at heart, and so when I'm put into a situation where if I take one step, like like right before I'm about to shoot, and my accuracy just goes all over the place, it's like something just like I'm completely unused to, and And like, there's been so many occasions where like
I think I know what you're
I'm
talking
like,
about,
this
yeah.
guy should be dead. What's happening? I just rage.
Dude, it's the
Uh,
classic crosshair. The crosshair is on the body, but the bullets aren't.
Yeah, dude,
That
I've
always
like
feels
painted
awful.
pictures with bullets on so many different occasions, and I mean, like,
Well,
I think the game is fun. Like, I want to
Mhm.
get better at it, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's so weird because it's a first person shooter, and I feel like comfortable with FPSs, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like this whole different accuracy system like turns the game on its head for me.
Interesting. As coming from the CS and Valorant player playing for the UBCO team, Albert, how do you feel about the game so far? And try not to go into details about like or like deep details right now, because that's the point of this episode.
We're not gonna talk about specific shit yet,
Mhm.
but just like I think it's okay.
Mhm.
It does get frustrating with a lot of stuff. Like I think a lot of people coming in from any other game is like not used to the amount of angles you have to look at. Being a
Mhm.
CS player background, I think this has
Mhm.
been echoed a lot. Like motherfucker can stand in 4 different spots, or they can have 4 motherfuckers sitting in the same spot. Or there's 4 different spots when I peek this supposedly safe
Yeah.
angle.
Yeah.
That's why like I do remiss and think like, oh, maybe I do want to go back to CS on the occasional night of like after drinking.
See, I have a question for you, Albert. I think Hunter brings up a really interesting point about the gameplay loops. It's oh no, sorry, it's not Hunter. It was Jake who brought it up. And I understand that CS and Valorant are similar in games, but I will agree with the sentiment with Jake that it just feels like the gameplay loops in Valorant are a little more frustrating than it is in CS. And I was wondering if you could possibly highlight why that such a feeling exists in the first place.
Val being more frustrating than CS. Yeah, I saw like angles. I don't know, man. I think everybody here has been like, you take you peek and then you see like 3 guys on your screen, and
Mm-hmm.
that's because like that's how the map is designed, and like
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the key difference so far in I guess the approach to the game between CS and Valorant?
okay, so we're gonna talk about this later, but I'll just drop it really quickly here.
Okay,
I
I like
genuinely
this.
think it's the maps because they set up the maps for you to intentionally use util,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't use util, you're gonna be brutally like punished for it because you can't take fights easily.
Yeah, yeah.
But then for CS, when you look at other maps, like you look at the Common Dust 2 or like Mirage,
Mm-hmm.
for them to like ascend, you're like thinking like, well, there's actually a lot of ways you can circumvent the usage of utility on these maps, which is really, really like surprising. Like I've seen teams where like they actually don't even throw a smoke
Oh,
at mid window, but you can't do that in
Albert,
yeah. What's up?
do you think it's possible to put your mic volume up? Apparently, the stream can't really hear you.
Huh. Okay. I hope that's better. But
Oh, that is better for me.
oh, are you listening to
check.
the stream?
Oh no, I'm just talking about from our perspective or my perspective on Discord.
I just raised my voice.
Check your OBS settings and shit
Yeah, no,
too,
I've lowered it because like I
or
thought my
whatever.
mic quality was bad, but I'm on push to talk. But I do think that's a problem. Like, I feel that
It's
like
still decently quiet on the stream.
hello there.
Okay, so the general for those who couldn't hear, Albert's point, I believe he's trying to say that the main difference between CS and Valorant is how often you feel compelled to use your utility. It seems like in Valorant you cannot take fights without using utility, but in CS the map apparently uh allows you to go has some design such that you can just opt to not use utility. Is that what you're saying, Albert?
Definitely, because like if you think about it, like there's so many angles where you can like tuck yourself in and take this like 1v1 angle in CS, but I can
Yeah.
barely find that in Valorant. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
like if
so
you found that
the
frustrating.
the focus of this episode it will be to try to in our discussions I hope to figure out why Valorant is such an oddball. It is odd in the sense that not that it's trying to be a CS clone in that, but it's odd in that people do like the game, and I think the tournament viewings are, or the, what is it, spectator counts or whatever. I think the view
View
counts
count?
are decently high, but this is like one sentiment I feel like is repeatedly echoed but not really addressed, and that's what I hope to outline in this conversation. So I think the most relevant topic to go into is map design, especially with Riot releasing a video directly addressing Icebox. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's their latest dev diaries, where like a developer comes on and they just talk about their essential approach to the game. And I think these dev diaries are cool, but it also kind of shows you how there's a lot of comments that I feel like the Reddit, or sorry, the Valorant community, not the Reddit community. There's a lot of comments that the community has, and I feel like we're addressing all of them in this initial, how do you feel about the game? And so I wanted to talk about that. In their latest dev diaries, they talked about Icebox, and they addressed that Icebox was this game that, or this map that really emphasizes uh, interconnectedness and high aim, or strong aim mechanics. Because for those who've played on Icebox, that place is fucking open as hell, and there's a lot of awkward angles.
Yeah,
I just want to ask, who here has played Icebox? Like,
I've played Icebox.
I played Icebox.
Hunter, I think you've played on it like recently on Unrated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, is Hunter frozen?
it's gross. Yeah, the map is
Oh,
the map
Hunter's-
is gross, but the most interesting thing from the dev diaries to take away from it was that apparently Valorant is interested in creating maps like Icebox. Now, I don't think this means that same openness, but I believe what they're trying to say is that they want to keep creating these maps centered around gimmicks to open up diverse play styles. So let's first talk on that. What are opinions on that? Because I think that's a little whack, dude.
Wait, what do you mean gimmicks?
Okay, I think what he means by gimmicks is you can take like every single map in the game and outline one unique mechanic that may or may not like impact, necessarily like insanely. Like say like bind teleporters, the ropes on split, the icebox zip line. What else is there? I guess the gimmick of Ascent, or not Ascent. Well, Ascent has the doors. Could say
Ascent
that's.
has the doors. Yeah.
And then Haven has the 3 points, which is different than all others. So
Yeah.
each of I would say Haven probably has the best gimmick because I think it's unique.
Yeah,
But
it's not limited to a literal thing. It's like a philosophy, having another point instead of, hey, let's have some ladders here, or a rope, or a zip line.
yeah, and also
yeah.
with
Yeah.
like
One
No,
thing I
sorry.
actually kind of want to talk about with this whole idea of Valorant being an oddball. I know you mentioned like map is definitely one key determinant of playstyle within the game,
Yeah.
but I think why we're having a hard time like figuring out the game and why it's an oddball, it's because we don't really know like what is that key determinant that like defines success in the game. Like if I were to compare this to Call of Duty, I would say like hands down, it's just reaction timing. Like um when I played that game all the time, it's just basically like aim was not really as important as just being able to like turn around fast enough to shoot at the guy who's shooting at you. But with Valorant, we have so many different like ways you can find success. For example, utility, reaction timing, turning around, getting the flicks, or accuracy. And then like this, there's like micro skills as well, like auto strafing or something, cancel strafing.
Oh yeah, where you just hit D at the, or just a counter strafing. I imagine that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, like movement. I guess I could just categorize it as like movement, mechanical ability. And what's, I guess maybe it's just because what we're trying to figure out is like, what there's so many different factors that could lead to success. What is like the biggest factor? Because it all seems kind of like a gray area right now.
That's actually an interesting point to bring up because I personally, as of right now, I think Riot hasn't really introduced anything that made it such that this game is radically different from CS. I think the addition of abilities kind of favors aggression. They're trying to make the game more aggressive. But yeah, so the reason I bring that up, Hunter, is because some of the complexities that you talk about within Valorant are addressed in CS, and it's just from the fact that the the movement mechanic that Counter Strike introduces, right? That was a very unique thing at the time, and that's what the game is built around. The problem with Valorant is that, and it's a good thing. It's a good point to bring that up because I think the real core problem with Valorant is that they don't know how to approach movement in the game. And I say this because they keep this movement mechanic, this problem, which was big in CS, um, and that establishes a certain pace in the game. But everything they add to the game that are movement abilities essentially circumvent this problem. And so it leads to this scenario where anyone who can really like teleport or dash, even raise too, they're technically the strongest characters. And you see this emphasis on like circumventing movement, especially on Icebox, where there are literally certain parts of the map you cannot get to without
Unless you have a
jumping.
movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or teleporting.
Yeah.
And it's just very weird. And now that Hunter brought that up, yeah, I think there's a problem in the fact that Riot hasn't directly addressed this movement and how they want to use it. I think it was cool for Counter-Strike, and I don't know I don't know about how much I'm saying is valid, so definitely I'm curious what you guys think of this, but I think that it'd be nice to see Valorant actively discuss this movement mechanic because it's literally the defining thing of Counter-Strike. A lot of cool shots, a lot of b hopping and all that. It all comes from the fact that there's a difficulty to move, but now Valorant has made it very easy to move. So we're playing in this, or what I perceive to be in this kind of awkward dance of like mobility, but also immobility at the same time.
I would feel like, so you have all the characters with mobility abilities, and
Yeah.
then you run those, and then like you'd be Jet, whatever, and then you have the contrast between the agents with zero mobility, which I would say it's about a 60-40 split, maybe.
Yeah, I would
Well,
agree with that. Yeah.
something like that. And I think they either need to commit, don't necessarily need every agent to have mobility, but also I feel like maybe mobility, like the immobility part, has to be less punishing. Um,
Yeah.
at least how I see it is you have all these super cool abilities, and like
Mhm.
the issue is that half the time like the movement kind of like it handicaps the way the abilities can be used. At
Yeah.
least that's how
Yeah.
I see it. Like I feel like if you were able to be a little bit more aggressive with your movement and be able and like get slightly less punished with the way, like, how it affects your aim perhaps, or like just overall ability usage and all that,
Mhm.
um then I think the game might be better. I could be wrong, it could be a big take, but
Do you have any ideas for what you would change to the current movement system? Because what Riot has improved upon Counter Strike's movement is that they made counter strafing slightly easier by making it such that you can choose to counter strafe, or you can choose to just let go of your button entirely, and it will cancel all your momentum.
yeah. um I
So do
guess
you think? Oh, do you think an idea would be like to increase that amount of jiggle room? Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where you can just kind of strafe
Yeah.
yeah.
endlessly on a spot, but you don't make any noise.
I mean that, yeah, like potentially that could be good, or bad. I don't know. But that's just something to do with like how friction works in the game is, and just the way movement works. Because say if you take Overwatch for example, there's no
Yeah.
friction to your movement.
Yeah.
It's
you just press
purely
jump.
like you press D, you go a certain like a certain amount of space, and if you go like, but Valorant, like your movement is affected by physics and friction. So you either need to potentially, you could increase the acceleration you get, and then in the same way, like you decelerate faster, which allows you to move faster, but be able to come to a stop faster, or at the similar rate as you would already, which I think could be interesting, where you're able to traverse the map potentially a bit faster and be a little bit more aggressive,
Yeah.
while still being like, you still would have the movement penalties for shooting and all that, because I think that balances out the strength of the weapons, where I can essentially like 2 to 3 shot someone, or one shot them if I land a headshot.
Yeah.
And if you have perfect accuracy while moving,
Yeah. Then the AK kind of dominates.
yeah, then you just
Sorry, the
run like,
Vandal.
the Vandal or the Phantom, right? You just run it down, you blast people, or even the Op, right? Like there's no punishment, so you still need the movement penalties. But I think if you make people faster, or also just like increase the acceleration, I think you'd be able to see a slightly more aggressiveness
Interesting.
and be able to
Yeah.
capitalize on abilities better.
Albert, what do you think about this? I'm personally under the impression that CS players are quite in love with the movement system, like as in like they won't jerk off to it or come to it, but like they enjoy it and they
Fuck
respect
you
it.
asked.
And
It's a dirty pleasure.
I imagine you have some thoughts on this.
It's a dirty pleasure for sure, but maybe I don't mind any of the movement abilities really, but like what I probably do want to see is like maybe they do want to tweak the sort of so you guys know when you get shot, you have like your movement is stopped, right? You're like you're
Oh yeah, the
eliminated.
bullet penetrate. Sorry, what I forgot what
Like,
tagging or whatever. I
Yeah,
forgot the
tagging.
term
Yeah,
for it.
tagging. I feel like tagging. I don't know if this is like a combination of hitboxes or whatever, but like I feel tagging is not that influential because I feel like you can literally like get back in a corner easily, but there are times where you can also like you get fucking dumped on them. Actually, no. I actually think the movement, the bullet acceleration is not as bad as CS, because if I stand out in CS and I get tagged like from a shoulder peek, I can actually get even more damage than just one bullet. But then in
Wait, so you think the tagging in this game isn't as punishing as CS? Is that what
I
you're
think
saying
the
right now?
tagging is awful in this game.
I think there are cases where where people are like moving like in a ridiculous pattern, just like literally b hopping, and they don't get tagged at all. But then there's also cases of where I think like netcode and like the bullshit of like the netcode and the peekers advantage is like it just fucks everything over. Like you're literally behind a wall, but then you're still getting tagged. There's like a lot of problems with it. I don't know the true like I don't know how to diagnose it, but like I genuinely think there needs to be sort of a way to like make that tagging and like peaking. Well, peaking is like another topic, but like I think that extends this problem of peaker's advantage, where um, people survive this sort of like tagging bullshit, even though they're like they shouldn't be alive. And I don't
But
know like if that's just a symptom of like all the other design choices they had in the game.
but I feel like with the tagging thing, at least how it impacts movement. Um, like, do you guys remember when they had to nerf the amount of like, like the movement reduction or whatever on the pistols and the shotguns?
Yeah.
Because like you would literally get you get tagged by a shotgun from across the map,
yeah,
and you
you're
couldn't
like,
move.
ooh.
Yeah, like
Actually,
you literally couldn't move, and then they just spam you out, and like, yeah, you probably wouldn't die, but you'd be just stuck in, like, say they're on whatever side of ascent and you're across like mid from each other and they're spamming you with a shotgun. If you're just trying to move, then you're just stuck there, and if you don't kill them fast enough, or if they just like move out of the way, you're kind of screwed. And then also, if they have another teammate with you, or with them, sorry, with like an
Yeah.
actual gun, other than a shotgun, you're just gonna get clapped and go
Think about
straight.
it. I feel
Like,
like what could really help with like dealing this goofy ass movement we're all talking about here. It really is unfortunate that like the only map that feels like that sort of deals with this is Icebox. Just because Icebox has space for that movement. But Icebox in its on its own is just so dog shit that like you
Yeah,
don't even want to
Preach.
play on that map at all. I
it's
just
pretty
think
ass.
I mean, like
yeah,
every game has that, right?
I would like to hear Valorant, or actually, if there's one thing I'd like to hear directly from Riot in their dev diaries, I'd like them to talk about how their philosophies changed over these couple months. Because from my perspective, I've played the game since like the closed beta, and
Yeah, same.
you know, for those who did play during the beta, you would know that the game has like it's been such a short period since the game's been released, but the game has changed already so much, right? Like Sage was nerfed to the ground, Raze was nerfed to the ground, pistols were changed, shotguns were changed. Like this game,
Like Raze on launch. You
yeah,
Oh,
and
God,
the
yeah.
money, the
To-
ecosystem,
Yeah.
that's
Like
all
what?
different.
It was capped at, was it 12 or 15K at the beginning?
15K,
I
like
think it was like
SFOC.
12.
Oh no, 12K.
Was it?
It was 12K. It was 12K.
Yeah, I think it was 12 and then they dropped it to 9. And then they've
Yeah.
also they also increased the op like
And then
price.
there's that random change where Phoenix's flashes cost 200, but Breach's and Sky's flashes
Like,
still
look,
cost 100.
there's
Like,
so much
what?
wrong with the.
What?
Oh, so yeah, like okay,
Yeah.
I want to know their philosophy too. Like, I literally don't get why they're buffing initiators like crazy when, like, literally they say like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be for team play, but we're sampling data for matchmaking. I'm like, what are you wanting?
I
You're so
think
dumb.
I think it's because they're buffing like the initiators is because they're not getting any value in ranked. Because like especially say you take Breach for example, right?
Yeah.
Like how often are you gonna get people actually to push on your flashes and your like your stun,
Yeah, the
whatever, like
team
tremor.
Yeah, that's so true.
So you give him more flashes so he's able to either like do it himself
Mhm.
or
what's
give like
crazy?
more opportunities to do it.
You know what's crazy? The one of the reasons I believe that this problem even exists in the first place is genuinely because of the movement. I like think of Overwatch and think of Valorant. I genuinely think Valorant. I used to think Overwatch is like the most team-based game. Like you cannot win if it's 5v6, you can't win. But in CS, you can do a 4v5. In Siege, you could do a 4v5. But in Valorant, I I'm going to have to say, Overwatch, you are no longer the most team dependent game. I am going to put the hot take out that Valorant is the most team dependent game.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Oh
It's
no.
Ugh.
Did you
I'm
say
gonna
how?
have
Did
to
you say
I'm
how?
gonna have to
Paul,
politely
Paul.
disagree with you there.
Paul, I'm gonna heavily
Getting
disagree
the
with you here.
spiciest
You know
of
what? You know what?
takes.
Maybe I should qualify my hot take.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
I
let's
will
yeah.
get an
say that it's the
explanation
most.
first.
Let's get some scholarly sources in here. Come on.
Get an asterisk in here.
No, the moment Hunter spoke up, that's when I knew I fucked up. What I was gonna say is it's the most uh teamwork orientated game that's an FPS game in the FPS genre.
Like a true FPS.
No,
No,
I,
no,
I,
I'm
I,
sorry.
I,
I'm sorry,
Okay,
nah.
you know what? Let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's start with Hunter. Okay, just start with games, and then guys can explain your parts. Hunter, what do you got?
Oh man, well, to be fair, I don't know that many. I don't know like the play styles of a bunch of different FPSs, so I can't
Mhm.
speak on the genre as a whole, but I can in the sense I can, whereas like FPSs in general, like individual performance is way like the weight of individual performance in FPS games is so much heavier than like say a MOBA like League or Dota or whatever.
Mhm.
Because you know I'll play with like a platinum level friend in a bronze game, and he'll just completely take over the game. Of course, that's like a very niche example of like that's not what you're gonna see day to day in like the competitive scene. But the fact that you can like have that much impact over a game as one player just goes to show like how high the ceiling can be for when we're talking about pro play. So like say we're tens is you know arguably the best Valorant player. You
Mhm.
that this example that I brought up of like a platinum player smurfing on bronzes and just completely taking over the game could be replicated on that level of play. Say Tens just has like a super hard, like super strong game, or like say a role player of a Sentinel just has a super strong performance that game as well. That strong performance
I
is
see what you're saying.
most
Yeah.
definitely one of the reasons why they win the game, is because it's when the individual players can step up and and when like they're performing better than their average selves is
Yeah.
what highlights success
It's-
most of the time, I
I-
feel.
I gotta agree with Hunter here. I think with Valorant, it's so like I've literally been in like bronze games at the rank I am, like it's gold, whatever, not very good, and I can literally just stomp the entire lobby. It's Valorant is very much like, I think it's literally, when it comes down to pro play in most games, it at some point it becomes not who is the best, but who is the worst in the lobby, right? Like, if you have the worst player in the lobby, you are most likely going to lose.
and this,
But it depends how good your other players are. Or if you have the best player in the lobby, you can look at like Decay when he was on on Justice and on the Fuel. Like, in those games, he was also able to carry. Because I feel like, as much as all games are team-based games, every single game still has carry potential from a player, right? But I would say Overwatch is still way more team dependent than Valorant, because Valorant just offers you so much in terms of just individual skill and carry potential, more so than Overwatch can. So
Yeah, one thing I actually
yeah.
want to sneak in there about Overwatch is that one reason why I can see it being more valuable in terms of team play is because there's a respawn system, right? So individual mistakes are penalized less so, considering, if you die because of some kind of micro mistake, you get a respawn. You get to try again. You can respawn as many times, and then the fact that you're respawning can then hurt the rest of the team. Which the team then needs to adapt, because there's one less player on the field.
Yeah.
But it's just like it puts more pressure on the team and less on the individual self, because the team knows that, say Jake dies, oh well, at least he's coming back. We need to adjust accordingly. Whereas if Jake gets eliminated completely, then it's like, okay, well, we got to step up for the rest of the game.
Paul, let me just put this into like game theory for you, okay? So like CS, Valorant, if you die, you're dead for the round. You're not gonna have your util. You're not gonna have the impact of that. Overwatch, TF2, or like class-based shooters, you're gonna respawn. And it's not just that. When you compare these, like the tactical shooters versus the class-based shooters, the reason we all got triggered was because like we know the team plays more important in class-based shooters because of like so many reasons. But in my personal opinion, I think it's the kill time. In order for you to maximize your time to like your chances of winning a round, you have to work together to reduce the kill time. But the thing with Valorant and CS, blop, you got an up, he's dead. You got a headshot, he's dead. You got an extremely overpowered util or like fucking ult, he's dead. Like the kill time and like the kill potential is to get a life is easier in those games. And also compare that with the fact that you can respawn and you still have in like class-based shooters, you can respawn and you can still have impact in that same round. So
Okay.
yeah,
I will now try to present a case. Or did you have something else to say as well, Albert? Sorry.
like
I didn't mean to cut you
I'm
off.
sorry. I'm sorry. Like literally, like I don't want to sound mean, but like, have you ever? I don't want to sound mean, but like to you Overwatch guys, but like, do you guys ever see somebody hard carry as a DPS or a tank?
I mean,
I've seen it before. Yeah,
but outputting so much more damage.
it does happen.
But outputting so much more damage, but they have to be on their own skill level, just like on this like own like fucking like they're just way up there. Like usually when they're up there, like they're like in this like they're out of their like they're way above their league. They're like they're considered outliers. But when you
they are outliers to hard carry.
Yeah.
As
Okay. All right. All right. I think I've
So
heard some
basically,
pretty
Paul's a
good defenses.
dumbass, and
We
let's
just
move on.
owned
Yeah,
him.
Yeah.
I'm coming on here with my tinfoil hat and be like, all right, boys. Okay, so one thing I'm gonna say here is that while I do think Valorant is pretty dependent on teamwork, I believe CS is still more individual. And despite those two being pretty similar games, the difference in opinion for me comes from the fact that Valorant introduces these class bases, that the class based shooter aspects. Um, in CS, you can do a lot more things on your own because of all the kill potential time. The low kill time is what helps an individual have high impact. But another thing that helps is what the individual can bring. Flexibility. In CS, you have technically the ultimate flexibility. You can buy any gun, you can buy any smoke, you can buy anything. But in Valorant, it's kind of similar to, well, it is similar to Overwatch in the sense that you need roles. You need specific characters on your team, or else your chance of success is dramatically lower. Like, for example, here, uh, if one team on Valorant, in regardless of the skill level, I believe that the team that has a smoker will always have a higher chance of beating the team that does not have any smokers on their team.
Oh,
So that's already one. Um, my second reason for why dependence or teamwork is so much more important in Valorant is because of these. Well, it's an extension of this idea of abilities. These abilities, like you said, Albert, are so strong that they're truly only the best when you combo it with another person. Like, you could do a Reyna blind, that works. You can just do a breach blind, and that works. But what's even stronger than all this, and this is the reason why the game is, I believe the game work is teamwork orientated, was because they had to buff Breach from his teamwork position because no one could understand his potential. As in, like you said, Jake, no one was able to take advantage of the initiator's abilities, and so they
At
had
least
to
in
buff.
ranked.
Huh? Sorry, what?
At least in ranked.
Yeah, at least in ranked. At least in ranked. Yeah, and so in pro play, I think teamwork and individual will always be like, they're pretty hand in hand in pro play. But I think in the ranked gameplay aspect, people just don't realize how much teamwork dependence there is in this game. I think there's a lot more because of all these abilities. It's really just that. The abilities and how easy it could be to get free kills. For example, the most egregious like use of alts I've seen is when I've seen, I think it was like TSM for some other team, and you guys know the Haven narrow CVC choke point. You know that like
Yeah.
juicy tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the pushing team throws out a rolling thunder, and the defending team throws back a rolling thunder. But the reason why the defending team wins is because they also threw a raise alt at them through the rolling thunder. And it shows you that like if you actually just consider teamwork in Valorant as like as the focus as opposed to individual play, you can see that in top pro play a lot of it is really teamwork, and it's the exceptions that we see that show arguments for individual play. Tens, like that's one team. Cloud9 is one team that has like just an amazing star player that literally just holds W and gets all the kills. Wardell is like another one like that. He's another good individual player. But these individual highlights only appear when the teamwork is there. And so that's why I believe in Valorant. If your teamwork isn't put together, like in Overwatch, your mechanics don't matter because the teamwork provides just as many benefits and more without the mechanics per se. And the mechanics show and become more relevant when both sides have the same amount of teamwork. And that's why I think that Valorant is a more teamwork oriented game.
But that, like, if we're being honest, isn't
Mhm.
that just kind of like how every single pro player scene turns out? Is
Yeah.
when everybody's at the top of like the ranked leaderboards and they reach pro play, they're all good mechanically. So of
Mhm.
course, like the only thing that's going to separate them is teamwork, right?
True,
And
but
then
it also
that's but if you're that's kind of like a different. None of us are saying that Valorant doesn't have teamwork because it does,
yeah.
but I think we took not offense, but um saying that it's the most team dependent game is a
FPS
little
game.
bit false because let's say you have you have Overwatch and you have Valorant. So Overwatch, you're trying to dive top right of Nimbani, right?
Mhm.
You have
Oh,
to go as a
yikes.
team, otherwise you achieve nothing. You're doing an execute onto I don't know, like ascent A, whatever. You do 2 abilities, you go into the site, and then you just shoot people, right? Like, and it comes down to, do you click more heads than the enemy team does? If you do, you win. If you don't, you lose. And while the smokes and everything help you, and the way you rotate in position will help you like succeed more, I think just based on like if you have that one player on your team, because they can all just click heads, right? Like
If you
they're
say
just gonna click heads and
execute,
win.
I think that's a little wrong because and it's not just smokes. Smokes are one thing that helps with the teamwork, but the real thing that helps, in my opinion, is every other utility that is thrown to help that fragger, like the blinds, the setups, the smoke and dashes. These are all just to help that one individual player
But
get the kills.
that's not teamwork.
Is that not teamwork?
That's not teamwork. At least in my opinion, I don't think that's teamwork. That's just like throwing all your resources at one player to succeed. Like that doesn't sound like teamwork to me. Teamwork is using all your resources to like support every single player to make every single player succeed,
Like you're
or at
using
least like if you're using all your utility and everything for one player to pop off, that's not teamwork. That's just like him putting everyone in their backpack and then they're pulling out everything to make like the backpack slightly lighter.
that's kind of debatable, but like they're like that's very debatable because like technically this could be the game plan. This could be the like the
Yeah,
least
that's why
risky
that's a
thing to like
little
yeah.
it's a little awkward. Like I'm
But
not gonna say what you said was wrong, Jake, but it's like I guess I would be responding back to you with what you believe is teamwork.
no, like
But
what I would define as
yeah,
teamwork is the lack of agency to secure the round win. Okay,
Yeah.
so what do I
yes,
mean?
yes,
What
you
do
know
I
what? Yeah,
mean?
that's perfect.
What
Yes,
do I mean? What do I mean? So this is like an inverse, but like if you think about it, how much agency can you have in order to create the round win? We take CS, you can fucking lurk and like you guys like you commit a like an over rotate, you kill 3 guys off the rotate. That's the amount of agency you
Mhm.
can have. While in Val, that's debatable due to many other reasons. Okay,
yeah,
but when you think about the lack of agency, the idea of lack of agency, I just thought of this just now. Was like, if you think about a dive execute on Overwatch, you're not gonna.
Mhm.
What's happening is that like you need to do everything in like these specific ways. You target this player because you target the healers first, and then you kill all you kill the tanks or the DPSs, and or like whatever, right? You have to focus everything. But in Val, there's sort of like there's like okay, we can't really draw direct comparisons on focusing and like these ginormous like dive executes, but you can sort of see like the parallels with like okay, we walk into a site, so which way are we gonna go take the site? We're gonna take the site like by like walking together or like going spread out, and that's going like spread out. What I mean is like you go on the right side of Ascent A site or you go on the left side of Ascent A site,
yeah, yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
that's the agency or freedom I'm talking about. Where if you if you have the lack of that, that's not. If you have lack of agency, that's teamwork because you're following what the team is doing. But if you're not doing that, if you're if you're but if you do have agency, then you're gonna be doing your own thing.
Mhm.
And then what these two concepts bring in together is that what are like how much like it's like an equation like the balancing factor like how much will the agency like destroy the chances of you winning the round. So like for example in Overwatch, if you don't focus the healers or the support characters, you're most likely gonna get fucked. But if you
Yeah, yeah.
but if you do, let's say if I go to the right of the site and like I kill him because he doesn't expect me to be there, or like what's it or I trade him but in the most unconventional spot or something like that, or something amongst the lines of other agency, then where does it draw the line, right? Like where does the risk go very high when the benefit for the play is really low.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Overwatch is still bigger, because if you don't if you just if even if you have a bit of agency and like deciding not to do the right thing, or like the thing that you guys agreed upon on the strat, it will affect the round like the fight immensely. While
Yeah.
CS, it could, or CS or Val, like when you take the 1v1s or the side takes or the trade outs,
Okay.
there's gonna be something
See,
else.
that's where I think you sort of support my argument, Kurt or Albert.
Ah!
I got him.
You got him.
Got
You
him.
got him.
Because the you said like it you're saying that in Valorant it doesn't matter who gets picked in 1v1s. But I disagree. What if your smoker dies before they smoke off everything? Anything. You're already off to like a tremendous disadvantage. And
But that's
it,
also the same in every game. If you like,
I mean, in
if you
CS,
lose one, yeah, but we've already determined that CS isn't like up there with teamwork, right?
yeah, yeah, and that's really what it is. It's just the abilities make it teamwork based because I consider the lack of agency, right? Going with that definition, you really can't smoke anything if you lose your smoker in Valorant. Whereas in CS, it doesn't matter, and that's why I think like if there was just a stronger emphasis on teamwork in the game, like if the people who or ranked players just understood that, I feel like the overall ranked experience would just be better. But that just sounds like any other game. If people had teamwork, we'd be better. But
I,
yeah,
I,
that's
I just feel like I feel like at this point where like the argument has shifted more like, do we think Valorant has teamwork rather
yeah,
than like which game? Like I think most people in this call don't think that Valorant is the most
teamwork.
like
Yeah,
the
teamwork
game
one.
that requires the most team play. Which isn't necessarily bad or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's not a good or bad
Oh,
thing.
I
We're
have
just
now
literally
become
talking about
Hunter.
Yeah, I've
the.
become Paul.
But yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah, I just wanted to bring that idea out. I think the game is pretty teamwork orientated. And I know that's what we've established, but I think out of all the games I can think of right now, it's easily the most team dependent game in my opinion.
Your opinion's just wrong.
Yeah, well,
Yo, Chin is roasting
Alright,
you, chat, man.
moving-
Hey! Jathan is agreeing that Paul is a bad take machine.
You know what? You can do whatever, dude. What can I say? I actually have opinions. That's the difference.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yo.
Damn.
And
Damn.
sorry. and
Jathan, get in here and defend
Chin
yourself.
is,
Get
Chin,
in
is-
here
Chin is
and
literally
defend.
gonna bomb rush your room and just be like, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah.
I'm so
Well,
toxic.
zooming out, I think I want to return back to our discussions of maps. And
Valorant maps equal bad.
yeah. Dude, okay, this is what I actually want to talk about then. Why don't people talk about this? Is it just me? Because I feel like even on social media and like just the general pro Valorant players, no one talks about how shit these maps are or demanding for like reworks. That's what I don't get. No one or okay, anyway, I say no one because I don't really hear it. And maybe I'm not like looking at the right sources. But am I fucking crazy here? It feels like no one's talking about. I feel like like
I
there's
think everyone kind of, at least definitely at the beginning, like people were shitting on Valorant maps. But at this point, I feel like people have just accepted that for the most part they won't change. So they'll shit on like the new maps like Icebox,
Mhm.
because they feel like uh they can actually like do something about those. But let's say like Bind and whatever, like they feel like those aren't gonna change. So there's
dude,
no point complaining against them.
like in Overwatch, there's so much bullshit for that kind of stuff. Like, oh, map theory crafting, character creation. Where's the Valorant content for this shit?
None of
Where's
it.
my like OC Valorant character? Where's my like community map in Australia?
I mean, the community just hasn't gone that far yet. But I feel like, I don't know, in a lot of games, like I think CS probably has some of the best map design out of like
It
most
does. It really
FPSs.
does. It's
Um, like
oh my
just
god.
like Overwatch maps, a lot of them are pretty bad. Valorant maps, the vast majority of them are pretty bad. I think the only good map are like this might be a hot take, but I think it's like Ascent and Haven are the ones I actually kind of like. The
Dude,
rest are kind of
Haven's
whatever.
cool until you realize, and until the pros realized, it's literally rush C or bust.
It is kind of
Yeah.
rusty or loot. Yeah.
What?
I think
Yeah.
Haven's a little bit of a broken map. I don't know. I think it's just the way I look at it is you're always gonna hear me comparing these games to Call of Duty, but what I
Yeah.
think what I think would define a good Call of Duty map is the points of entry to each point. So for example, like I play a shit ton of domination back in the day. And what I found a good map is, say there's like 4 different corridors you can enter the C flag or like the C point. Whereas in a map like Haven, there's like 2 ways you can get to C site if we're not counting CT spawn. It's either C long or through garage. And then with
Yeah.
B, it's either garage or through the mid. And then A is like the same thing. There's like 2 little corridor pathways that are super close to each other. And I think it's just such a linear design for a map where the only points of entry to a site um are like these 2 pathways that are one pretty narrow, not a lot of
Yeah,
angles, not a lot
chunks
of
are
like
severe
boxes
in
to
Oh.
this
work
game.
with.
I'm
And
transcending.
that's like something frustrating, or like one frustration I have with the game is that with this uh somewhat of a linear map design, like for example in Haven, it puts an emphasis on like slower gameplay, slow methodical, as you've seen in like the pro scene, like T1's found success with this slow and methodical playstyle. It's
Mhm.
because if you were to just funnel in your whole team through this like one corridor, that's just like a slaughterhouse, right? All they
Yeah.
need is one person holding down their trigger button and just like mowing them down like it's some kind of
Yeah.
zombie train. And so it's like, okay, well now we have to play slow, and like do we slowly walk through the corridor? Do we like throw a smoke or something? It just makes the room for error so small. And that's why I think there's a sense of helplessness within the community, I think, because they're like, oh well, this map sucks. But at the same time, I think they also realize that like maps take a crap ton of time to make, and to just make a significant change to one would be quite demanding, at least to my knowledge, of
Yeah.
like the game developers. But so I think they've given up in that sense. And how you brought up like attacking ice boxes or like the latest map is what makes sense, because you're like, the community's basically telling the devs, hey, you fucked up here, don't do it again.
Dude, I just think it's goofy as fuck where like yeah, I think that sentiment is goofy because I think there's a couple of like key highlight issues with Valorant. But it's just funny how the community decides, you know what? We'll just move on from it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's comparable to like if Valorant has brought this many good things into the game, it's kind of brought this many bad things. But like we don't need to look at that. And
But also,
yeah, that's how I
it
feel is what's
yeah.
going on right now.
It's kind of interesting though how they find characters easier to make them maps, which I think says a lot,
Oh my
right?
god.
Yeah,
Because
that's super
characters get
sad.
released more often than maps do, right? Like you get 2 characters per map. So in some ways they see maps as, I don't want to say lesser, but I just like, I don't know.
I
But
agree with that. I think that that is what they're doing because when I watched and I actually disagree with all of this approach personally, but when I watched the dev diary for how they approached agents, one of the key things they said they were focusing on was like identity.
mm,
They wanted to create characters around a theme and
the same as
make
Overwatch.
yeah, yeah. And my problem with that is that and I think this problem has pretty much permeated to every cast on the entire cast of the Valorant team is that um you don't really add anything unique if that's how you design the game. If you want to design the game around like site denial and you just give the character some smokes, give them a blind, call it a day, and you're just gonna pump out like really, I would say like I think they're stale. Like
Forgettable.
Yeah, forgettable. That's a good word. They're really just forgettable characters because there's not much separating uh like Omen from Counter Terrorist 1 with the smoke bomb.
Or Breach. Or Breach from Brim. Or Jet
yeah.
and Sage. Jet and Sage.
One thing
Yeah,
I'm
Brim from the
very
Counter-
fearful of, one thing I'm very
Yeah.
fearful of is that with this like uptake in agent development, that it might start going down the path of this League of Legends kind of broad champion, broad agent pool,
Like
where
power
they're
creep
just
sort
trying
of
to
thing.
like,
I mean,
yeah,
power creep's
exactly.
already a thing here.
Where they're trying to like basically think of, okay, well, what like how can we either make this ability slightly different than one we already have, aka like Sky's Hawks versus
Dude,
Breach's like
honestly, Hunter,
wall. They're
you can see that shit from like straight from Raze. I think Raze was the newest character, right? Wasn't she the newest character in the closed beta?
Reyna.
Yeah.
Reyna.
Yeah, no, yeah. Reyna came immediately after closed beta, and I think Raze was introduced after the
Beta was on.
the clo no the
The closed beta.
no Raze. Yeah, Raze was introduced after like all the streamers got access. So
Yeah.
before everyone got their keys, and then the keys was when Raze came in, and then once the game fully launched and became just downloadable to everyone, that's when Reyna launched, right?
I think Reyna is the only exception to the power creep trend. But let's take a look at
Yeah, it's
like
because she's dog shit.
exactly. But
I've
let's take a look at
cheated
everyone like
with that.
Raze. She's a form of power creep because until then, there's literally no one who has a grenade. And then Killjoy, one could easily see how that's honestly just a better cipher. And then with Sky, one can also easily see Sky's just a better breach. And like,
I would disagree with
I
that.
disagree with
not
a lot
better
of the
breach.
sentiments.
I disagree with that myself. But she's pretty strong, especially considering you could just run flash meta now. Or
But
like
I would,
flash
but I
comp.
would also say like Raze isn't an example of power creep because that would require like something to be there. Because she was the first one to have like a pure damage based kit, right?
Yeah.
Like all she does is pump damage. Well, she has like the fucking robot and utility of the blast
Yeah,
packs, but
they
like
all do direct damage.
yeah,
And I think that's like I think
yeah.
I consider that a form of power creep, mainly because I don't see Riot releasing another character with a grenade.
But that's not
I
power creep.
well, that is power creep if they just keep releasing characters that are just stronger than before, right?
Oh yeah, but
I
if they
think
don't release
stronger
one
is
that
the right
replaces what
word
she does,
there. I think
yeah,
it's slightly different. They just like take a concept of an ability, aka like a blind, and then just manipulate how it's used and call it a new ability. So
Yeah.
like as I mentioned, Breach's wall flash, they just turned that into a moving projectile that now blinds people who ever look at it. I mean, that we should just be expecting abilities like that in the future.
But that
Like
I think is what makes the
nearsights,
game
blinds, all that.
that's what I think is what makes the game like forgettable in that sense where these abilities essentially do nothing new and the way you use them
Yeah.
aren't like crazy different. I guess like Sky's bird thing is like a skill, but that's yeah, when I consider characters, I consider like, oh, what is a unique skill associated with this character? And I'm going to be honest, other than Jet and Reyna, I can't really think of these characters as someone like you have to learn a skill for. So that's why I disagree with Riot's idea of designing agents around themes. I think what they should be designing agents around are abilities. Like they should just create a novel idea, like a whip. How can we incorporate a whip into a tack shooter? And I think that would be a very interesting like product as opposed to, oh, let's have another flasher. Yeah.
Yeah, another interesting idea, if we're gonna go down the path of like how they can develop new agents, is create new status effects or new ways abilities can affect people. So right, we've seen we've seen, for example, there's a blind, right, where you can't see anything on your screen no matter where you look. We have a near sight, Reina eye or paranoia, where you can see what's like around you, but only in a
Oh, you
super
know
small
what?
radius.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they
Yeah.
need to do is stop making abilities that just replicate these effects in different
Yes, yeah.
ways. They
Yeah.
should just create abilities that have completely new effects. So like say let's talk about like a paralyzed, like it stops someone completely in their
Dude, that
tracks.
would be
Or like
so
say
crazy.
say some kind of effect that like lights someone on fire, or like a kind of a poison that sticks
Kill-
with them. Not
Killjoy
not
does
like
sort of.
a viper. No, not or yeah, I mean turret kind of, but like I'm talking about like permanently,
like
like
a poison effect. Of,
Yeah.
you're stuck to the
damaging them.
ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think what they
Another
got to
interesting
do.
idea I thought of was just throw it out there. Imagine if there's an ability who could just throw ice on the ground, and you could never stand still on that surface. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're always like sliding.
I think
That'd be
what you
insane.
what you meant by
That's actually a good
fire
idea.
rather than like you don't mean like a molly fire, like it's something that actually like is damage over time,
Yeah.
sort of fire affliction. And then poison, you meant also like damage over time affliction rather than
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
area you take
Not like
damage.
Pokemon where we're like talking about different like a ability types. Just like certain ways that abilities can affect people in different ways.
Dude.
So
Yeah,
like
because I
guess
see
I
Chain
was
Malding
kinda
in the
comparing it
chat,
to
Yeah,
Pokemon.
and you did
been molding for like.
and you
a
say
fast
because I think
second
what
now.
you realized is when you said like fire, poison, ice, like technically those are things in the game,
Oh
but
yeah,
they aren't actually like in a way in the game. Like you
Yeah,
have
they're not
mollies,
the
but that's just
actual
like damage
interaction.
in an area. It's not like a fire effect.
Yeah, yeah.
You have
I guess
viper
it was
poison, which is damage in an area, but just flavored to be poison,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
These
And then
aren't
you have
actual-
ice with sage, but ice it's a slow rather than something that speeds you up, which is
or
something
like no
that
friction.
is
Yeah, these are
yeah.
these are new effects. Like Hunter's saying, as opposed to throwing a new label on blind.
Definitely.
yeah. I think I can be more clear there in my explanation. What I was trying to say is that we need to make completely new abilities. Like
Yeah,
no replica of an ability that has the same effect.
Mhm.
We will I think what they should do is look for new effects. So yes, I did say ice. Sage is an ice character, but when I say ice, I mean like the ability is that it like freezes you in place. You're stuck to the ground. That would be like an interesting ability idea. It doesn't need to be ice that affects you, because as
Yeah.
we know, none of Sage's abilities that are ice have that effect. I'm not
Also,
saying you need to make an icy character that does that. I was just using ice as a like a
Yeah.
reference point.
Also, just to be clear, Sage's orb is actually just called a slowing orb, so it's not even ice. It's just we call it
Yeah.
ice.
And
Yeah, I
then
mean it looks
I
like
would
ice.
also say right at least in terms of like all the smokes, like yeah, there's only so much you can do
hmm
in like with a smoke, because right now the only difference between everything is execution, right?
Mhm.
Like it's purely like how you
Yeah.
execute the ability and how you deploy it. Like the
Yeah,
difference between and like I guess the size, like omen smoke and brim smoke, is just
dude.
you
Okay,
know
fun
the
fact: I didn't even know that difference.
what.
Like, I didn't know they had different smoke sizes.
Well, I'm pretty sure they do.
Jet has different smoke
Am I
sizes
wrong?
from. Well,
I thought
Brim and Omen have slightly different. It's more apparent with like Jet and like Brim.
Yeah.
Jets is small, I think.
yeah, like the majority of them are very similar in size, but there is a slight difference.
Mhm.
I think the
Another idea
overall- Yeah.
Another
Honestly,
idea
let's just theory
that I
craft
think
some
would be a
characters.
good. Yeah, I'm so about this. I think more terrain alteration abilities, or like ways the terrain can be changed, is
But
a
you can't
feature in
necessarily
games
have
that
that though. You can't
why
necessarily
not?
have that in this game because the maps are too small to accommodate anything like that.
Well, I'm talking more like, Sage Wall, right? That's something that can alter the terrain. It alters your pathing. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking like when Call of Duty Ghosts, I know another Call of Duty reference, when they implemented like the post map after a nuke, like the map completely changes after a nuke. I thought that was groundbreaking.
Oh,
Because there was a
is that a thing?
now the map is like a completely different thing. Yeah, so like in Call of Duty, if you get 25 kills without a death, the ultimate kill streak, you can get a
Yeah, the
nuke. And so how they changed it was the nuke actually alters the map. So like after this happened, the map turns into a complete wasteland. And I think just implementing more than just like a sage wall, maybe like say something that I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but like say like two pillars instead of just like one wall. But
Instead of one, yeah.
of course, I'm trying
like-
to stay. I'm
or
trying
like
to
a
stay
ramp?
within reason here, and not
Yeah,
and
okay,
not just say
something
like
that, yeah.
able to move a box from one place to another or something like that.
I genuinely believe though that the problem remains is the map, because it another thing that I find difficult with the balance of Valorant is the same thing with the balance of Overwatch. One character may seem like a good idea, but it's a whole different problem when you have that character in tandem with another character. We saw that with Orisa and Sigma. Sigma
Ugh.
alone was all right, but damn, everyone else has got shields, so all of a sudden you have like a completely different problem of like shields being everywhere. And so
And,
I
like,
think
no one
that's the
knowing what's
problem
going on.
with having more terrain shit, is that just because of the way the maps are designed to be these tight corridors, if we introduce terrain stuff, it would offer more denial essentially through these chokes, as opposed to the increase in diversity of play. But that's like a guess I'm throwing out.
I think it could be cool for like I'll probably get called Papega for this, but like if other characters create some form of like terrain, as you guys said,
Mhm.
if they're able to manipulate the terrain in some ways, like maybe not most likely not permanently, but just be able to like use the map to their advantage rather than like I don't know, just throwing another smoke or I'm gonna blind. It's like, oh, I can set us up here to like peek over the wall, or I can like set up a
Yeah.
choke and like I don't know. I just think
Dude,
that'd be cool rather
I'm
than just
calling it
like
now.
there's so much things you can do with this game when you have abilities, but instead of like most of the characters right now have like smokes, they either
Yeah.
smoke, blind, or stun, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Dude, I'm calling it now. The next broken character they're gonna release is gonna be someone with a step ladder. And that step ladder is permanent. That's the problem. The step ladder is permanent. So
You mean like-
everyone can just hop on these walls and be like, fuck you, I'm killing everyone. And then the next broken character after that will be someone who can just wall hang. He can just jump and
You
get out of
fucking
there.
Spider-Man. He's like
They're
he's
just
like
they're just gonna add,
Pathfinder
like,
from Apex.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna add Pathfinder.
Yo, have you guys seen Horizon? Do you guys know that character that just has that ability that throws people up in Apex
Yeah,
Legends?
yeah,
Now
yeah, yeah.
imagine that in fucking Valorant. That shit would be disgusting.
You
There
you get
is-
launched into the air with an op and you hit the nastiest 360 on the way down because for some reason like your gun accuracy doesn't get affected when you're out there for some random reason.
Honestly, that would
Like
be
there's so many
OP,
things they could
dude.
do is what we're saying. Is like we're not game designers, right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
fucking 5 Papegas sitting in a voice call taking dumb like hot takes that may or may not be completely brain dead, but we can at least like put these ideas out there because
Yeah, and it's
you
it's
know
something I'd like to see other people talk about more, Where are my YouTube videos with like my Valorant OCs and my map OCs, bro?
there's time is spent making their furry OCs first,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
that's
first.
actually profitable, my bad.
You
Yeah,
guys
I'm-
see-
I'm
you
honestly-
Unfortunately,
wanna
it's
s-
usually.
You guys want to shift over to
Yeah,
some
well,
other gaming
let's
news?
wrap this up. This has been
Okay,
like this is easily our longest episode, I think, right?
Oh, maybe we could go a bit longer.
Well, I think this is our longest like single target topic.
No, I'm
Has
glad.
it been a single
man, I'm
topic
loving it.
because
Yeah, hey, we've been kind of going through like a bunch of topics, but you know what? Let's wrap it up here. I think we touched on a lot of interesting topics. I don't remember my outro, so this is Paul, a hunter,
You're so
Jake,
scuffed.
Randy, and Kurt. We'll see you guys next episode.
Yo, was
You're
fun,
so
guys.
disappointed.
later.
All right.
Have a good one.
That was a fun episode.
I don't
you know what?
remember.
but the intent was there. I swear he set our sights on something that we thought was true. So now we sit and stare across a surface spanning the whole state. 2 feet between and miles apart. No one's to speak, but here all weekend still we haven't got a clue. It falls apart, there's not a heart to beat there. It falls apart, there's not a heart to have. It falls apart, there's not a heart to beat there. It falls apart, there's not a heart to have. Each word a world all of its own. Each star entered only in groans. The syntax skips a semantic slips, and what we're left a growing cleft of language lost tokens unknown. And then I guess we slipped right through and lost our meaning on the way. We ended up a tiny piece of every heart, of every part, of every story, of every grave. It falls apart, there's not a heart to beat there. It falls apart, there's not a heart to have. It falls apart, there's not a heart to beat there. It falls apart, there's not a heart to have. A tangled mass of knots, I confess, but the intent was there. I swear we set our sights on something that we thought was true. It falls apart.